There is a reason your personal brand isn't growing, and it's not what you think. It's not about having the perfect logo, color scheme, or aesthetic. There's one major mistake most people make that keeps them invisible. And today we're getting real and going deep. We'll uncover the essential factors you need to master in order for your personal brand to flourish and thrive. And these are things I haven't seen anyone else talk about. Hi, I'm Jasmine. I have a master's in language and literature and over 12 years of experience in marketing, including running my agency for the past half decade. I analyze how communication and psychology shape brands, influence pop culture, and drive human behavior. In this video, we're diving into the depths of personal branding. We will also cover action steps that you can implement right away after watching, because I don't want you to just get a dopamine hit from watching this and then continue to watch even more videos and read more books on the topic. No. I want you to take action. By the end of this video, I want you to have enough food for thought and know exactly which steps you need to take to start creating and embodying a brand that is an extension of yourself and completely connected to who you are and your core principles. All right, let's get right into it. Here's the thing. Most people assume that personal branding is just about being yourself. But the reality is that your personal brand is a persona. Contrary to popular belief, building a personal brand isn't just about having the perfect color palette, aesthetic, or recognizable features. While those elements do play a role, they only make up about 20% of a personal brand. The other 80% is all about who you are as a person, your personality, your values, how you make people feel, and how others perceive you. Your personal brand is a persona. It's a strategic version of yourself that you present to the world. Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung defined the persona as the mask we wear in public. It's the version of ourselves that we present to the world. It's essentially how we choose to be seen by others. The word persona actually comes from the Latin term for a theatrical mask worn by actors. In Jungian psychology, the persona lies between our ego and society. It's essentially the filter through which we interact with the world. And that's exactly what personal branding is. It's about choosing what parts of yourself you want to amplify, what parts of yourself you want to share with others, and how you want others to perceive you. It's strategic. Now, before you throw your hands up and say, that sounds like BS, I thought personal branding was about authenticity, not wearing a mask, hear me out. Your persona is not about faking anything. Let's get that clear. It's about amplification. The problem is that when people try to craft a brand based on who they think they should be instead of who they actually want to be. That's where the problem lies. Your persona should be rooted in your real personality, but it should be the most bold, confident, and intentional version of you. It should be your essence, but distilled and turned up to 100. To put this into perspective, think about superheroes. Think about superheroes and their secret identities, right? Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, Tony Stark becomes Iron Man. They don't pretend to be someone else. They step into a stronger, bolder, more purpose-driven version of themselves. Their alter ego allows them to fully embrace their mission. And this isn't just a superhero thing. Take Beyoncé, the queen bee, one of the most successful artists of our time. She created her alter ego, Sasha Fierce, to step outside of herself and into a bolder, more audacious, self-expressed version of herself. And that's what crafting your personal brand should look like. That's what it should feel like. You're creating an amplified version of yourself that embodies your values, confidence, and energy. But here's the catch. You are not just your brand, and that is very important to realize. Jung warned that if you become too identified with your persona, you risk losing touch with your real self. In other words, if you completely become your personal brand, you might start living for the image rather than for yourself. And this can lead to an obsession with what others think, constant self-censorship, and eventually burnout. You start to feel trapped in the brand you created, unable to evolve. And this is why so many influencers and personal brands crash and burn. They outgrow their brand but feel stuck in the expectations that they've built. So, how do you step into your most powerful persona? You have to craft your alter ego. And here's how. First, I want you to define your superpower, right? Ask yourself, what is the one thing you want to be known for? What is your strength that sets you apart? Then list your persona's characteristics, right? Is your personal brand bold, sophisticated? Is it playful, rebellious? Write it down. And now the fun part. Name your persona. Give it a name that helps you embody it. Just how Beyoncé chose to name her alter ego Sasha Fierce. And then start visualizing your persona. What do they wear? How do they walk, talk? How do they present themselves? If you're a visual person, you can even draw them or create a Pinterest mood board. And lastly, start acting like them. Each time you step into your business or content creation, switch into alter ego mode and embody this version of yourself. The more you step into your alter ego, the more natural it will feel. This isn't about faking it, it's about becoming your fullest, most expressed version of yourself. Make sure that while you're embodying your personal brand, you're still taking time to step back and be a human being. Because your brand should be an authentic extension of you, not a prison that you build around yourself. And yes, I just said the word authentic, one of the most overused buzzwords of the decade. But what does authenticity actually mean? Let's break that down. Here's the thing. Everyone talks about how you need to be authentic to build a personal brand, but no one ever explains how to actually do that, right? What does authenticity even mean? And how do you know if you're being authentic or just trying to present a version of yourself that you think people will like? The truth is, most people don't even know themselves well enough to be authentic. And if that is exactly what you're struggling with right now and you don't know exactly who you are, don't worry. First of all, that's completely normal, right? We all go through this. We all walk through life just trying to find ourselves and doing our best to figure things out. You're not alone. And I will show you exactly what I did to uncover my true self and get to know who I am and who I want to be so you can do the same. First, we need to go deeper and look at the origins of the word itself. So the definition of authentic is to be of undisputed origin and not a copy, and to be genuine. And authenticity means to be real or true. Authenticity comes from the Greek word authentikos, meaning original, genuine, principle. But let's take it even further back to authentes, which means one acting on one's own authority. And that comes from two words. Autos, meaning self, and hentes, meaning doer or being. And the word principle also comes into play here, meaning first in order of importance or main. In other words, you are the main character in your own life. You are the most important person in your life, and if you don't truly know who you are, beyond the noise, right? Beyond the noise of society, of social media, or even your family, and your friends, you will always feel disconnected from yourself and therefore also from your personal brand. So what does this tell us? This tells us that authenticity isn't just about being real. It's about being the author of your own life. It means that you're the one calling the shots, making your own decisions, and living in alignment with what truly matters to you. Authenticity isn't just about being yourself. It's so much more. It's about knowing your principles and making sure everything you do aligns with them. But you know what? This is freaking hard, right? I would argue that it is one of the hardest things in life to be able to actually separate noise and outside influence from your own thoughts, wants, goals, wishes, and desires. But even though it's incredibly hard, it's not impossible. If you want a real world example of authenticity in personal branding, just look at Olivia Rodrigo. She went from Disney star to TikTok sensation to international pop star in record time. But it wasn't just her music that made people connect with her, right? It was her personality. Because the truth is that talent does not equal success. Talent plus personality does. From the start, Olivia never tried to fit into the typical polished pop princess mold. She embraced her quirks, her awkwardness, and even her teenage heartbreaks, because that's what makes her real. And beyond that, she openly voices her opinions and supports causes she cares about. She's spoken out about women's rights, reproductive freedom, and social issues that matter to her. She's not afraid to take a stand, and that makes her fans feel even more connected to her. So, how can you make sure to build an authentic personal brand like Olivia? The first thing you need to do is to get still and dig deep within yourself to pull out your principles and find out what you stand for. And the way to do that is by writing a personal mission statement. I learned this from the incredible book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I highly, highly recommend reading this book. It changed everything for me. But basically, this is how it works. Stephen Covey talks about how defining your principles is the foundation of living with integrity. Your values are derived from your principles, but it's the principles that come first, right? Values guide behavior, while principles determine outcomes. Think of your principles as your core truths, the fundamental beliefs that shape how you see the world and make decisions. Your values, on the other hand, are subjective. They are more flexible, right? They can change as you grow and evolve. But your principles remain your foundation. They're unshakable. They are objective universal truths that you hold within yourself. And to get really clear on your personal brand, you need to write a personal mission statement and define your principles. Because without knowing your principles, you don't know who you really are and what you stand for. And therefore, you cannot really create an authentic personal brand. And I know this might sound intimidating at first, but it's actually super, super simple. A personal mission statement is a written declaration of who you are, what you stand for, and how you want to show up in the world. It's deeply personal and intimate, and you don't have to share it with anyone. Think of it as your North Star, your guiding light when making decisions, not just about your brand and your business, but your entire life, essentially, your career, your health, your relationships, everything. After watching this video, I want you to block out 1 hour in your calendar, grab a notebook and start writing. And I highly recommend writing by hand rather than typing on a computer because it stimulates complex brain connections and enhances your creativity and idea generation. Now, I want you to answer these following questions. What are the 3 most important character traits I possess or want to possess? What kind of impact do I want to have on others? If someone described me in 3 words, what would I want them to say? What do I believe in? What are my non-negotiables in relationships and friendships? What's one thing I would never compromise on? And then write 1 to 2 sentences that summarize your answers. For example, I am committed to inspiring others through creativity, curiosity, and integrity. My mission is to communicate ideas that challenge conventional thinking and empower people to take action. This is what makes a brand truly authentic, when everything you do aligns with your core principles, beliefs, and values. And people will be able to tell. They will be able to recognize you as genuine, someone who walks that talk. Authenticity is absolutely needed to gain trust and build an audience and community. And if you ever do something or say something that is not in alignment with how your brand portrays yourself, people will stop trusting you. Think about influencers, right, who contradict their own brand message. For example, a vegan influencer that wears leather handbags and shoes just because they're the latest trend, or an influencer that promotes products that don't align with their content and their brand, right? They instantly lose credibility because their actions go directly against what they claim to stand for. It goes against their values and their principles. Authenticity is about alignment. It's everything. Now, the second factor you need to master if you want to build a powerful personal brand is that you need to be polarizing. You need to get comfortable with the one thing your brain wants you to avoid at all costs. The one thing we are all biologically hardwired to avoid, being disliked, right? The biggest mistake you can make is to try and please everyone. And this is coming from a recovering people pleaser. It took me 5 years to stop constantly trying to get everyone to like me, to get everyone's approval, to stop always putting others before my own needs, and to constantly try and please others. It's a process, but it's a crucial one. The truth is, the most successful personal brands are the ones that divide opinion, right? People either love them or hate them, but they always talk about them. And that's exactly what a strong personal brand needs: attention. Without attention, there is no success. Because nobody knows about you, right? You could have the most important message to share or the most incredible product on the market, but if no one knows about you, you will always stay hidden, and therefore, you can never have the impact you want to have or achieve the goals you want to reach, because you will be invisible and no one will know about you. And the most polarizing people in the world know that. They know that bad press is still good press, because as long as people talk about them, they get what they want, right? They get more attention, more reach, more engagement. Think about people like Elon Musk, the Kardashians, Andrew Tate, Taylor Swift, or Donald Trump, right? Whether you love them or hate them, you know who they are. They dominate the conversation, and that's exactly why they remain relevant and why they're so successful. If you try to please everyone, you literally end up pleasing no one. It's impossible to please every single person on the entire planet and to be liked by every single person in the world. Even if you try and create a brand that portrays you as the ultimate nice person, like Taylor Swift, right? If you do that, you, like her, will still receive backlash. You will still have people hate you. You will still end up not being liked by everyone. A strong personal brand is not about being universally liked. It's about being deeply liked by the right people. As humans, we are wired to respond to contrast. Our brains naturally seek out things that stand out, things that challenge the norm, things that spark conversation, things that make us think. When someone strongly stands for something, it creates an emotional reaction, and that's what makes people engage. If you never say anything that makes people think or react, no one will ever pay attention to you. Being polarizing taps into a psychological concept called the mere exposure effect, which means that the more people see and hear about you, the more familiar you become to them. And whether that familiarity is positive or negative, it keeps you top of mind. And that's exactly the point. And here's the most interesting part. Some of the most loyal fans and customers can even start out as critics. People who disagree with you now may still follow you out of curiosity, and over time, they might actually start respecting and liking you. But I know this is easier said than done because, like I mentioned earlier, our brains are hardwired to fit in and be liked. Because back in the day, if you were ostracized from your tribe, it meant literal death. And even though things have changed drastically since then, of course, our brains still view not being liked as a threat to our safety and our existence. Even though you know you won't die when someone doesn't like you or even strongly dislikes you, you still fear it. And I know this fear all too well because it's the exact reason I didn't start my YouTube channel 5 years ago. I kept putting it off. 4 years passed, 3 years passed, 2 years passed. And deep down, I knew exactly why I was waiting. It wasn't because I wasn't ready. It wasn't because I didn't have enough knowledge or experience. It was because I was terrified of being judged, of getting negative comments, of putting myself out there and dealing with whatever came back. With running my agency, I intentionally built the brand in a way that removed me from the spotlight. I didn't want to attach myself as a personal brand to the business because that meant I was insulated. We used to send cold emails and we run ads. Naturally, we get positive and negative comments, but it doesn't bother me as much because it doesn't really feel personal. I, as a person, am more detached from my business since I'm not the face of it. But this, creating content, is completely different. Now it's just me, my content, my opinions, my knowledge, and that makes this unknown territory because there's no business to hide behind, right? It's my name attached to everything, and it's uncomfortable. Even now, I think about the negative reactions I might get, but I'm doing it anyway because at some point I had to make a choice. Let fear win and never realize my dreams, or take action and make it happen. And I refuse to let fear hold me back any longer. And I highly recommend reading The Courage to be Disliked on this topic. This is one of the best books I've ever read, hands down. It explores how one's unhappiness is self-imposed and stems from a fear of being disliked by others and the desire for approval. It completely reframed the way I think about criticism and other people's opinions. Because at the end of the day, the fear of being disliked is what keeps most of us stuck. But when you realize that being disliked is inevitable and that it doesn't actually matter, you free yourself to finally show up as you. Now, here's what's important to understand. Being polarizing does not mean being controversial for the sake of it. It means having the courage to speak your truth, even if it makes some people uncomfortable. So, I want you to think about what you actually believe in. Where do you stand on things in your industry? If you want to build a personal brand that gets attention, you need to have the courage to be disliked. So grab a journal and a pen and set the timer for 10 minutes and start a stream of consciousness. Write down all of your unfiltered opinions, thoughts, and beliefs, especially the ones that you're afraid to share publicly. Literally don't hold back. Write as if no one will ever see this, because no one ever will, right? It's completely personal. Now, review what you wrote. What are the opinions or viewpoints that you're currently holding back on? What topics make you hesitant to speak up? Where do you feel pressure to conform instead of sharing what you really think? Once you pinpoint what you're afraid to express, challenge yourself to start speaking up little by little. You do not have to go all in on day one, right? Start with one small statement. Share a perspective. Make a bold claim. Express your actual thoughts instead of filtering them for approval. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Over time, you will build confidence in expressing yourself, and you will naturally attract people who align with your views, while filtering out those who don't. And this is exposure therapy for your personal brand. The only way to get used to criticism or negative comments is to face them and realize they mean that you're doing something right. You're making people feel strong emotions. Now, the next thing that you need to know to build a strong personal brand is this. You will rebrand at some point. You will rebrand multiple times even. It's inevitable because you're not going to be the same person forever, right? You're going to grow, evolve, and change. And if your personal brand does not evolve with you, you will feel disconnected from it. And when you feel disconnected, that's when burnout happens. One of the biggest mistakes people make when building a personal brand is thinking that their brand will stay the same forever. But here's the truth. You will change. Your brand will evolve, and that's a good thing. As humans, we grow, our personalities change, we develop new interests, our priorities shift, and our perspectives expand. Expecting your personal brand to stay the same for years, even decades, is completely unrealistic. If you don't evolve your brand as you grow, you will eventually feel disconnected from it and you won't like what you do anymore. And people are going to feel that. And that's where burnout is going to happen. So to avoid this, you need to prepare for it. As I mentioned earlier, your core principles will always remain the same, but your values, interests, opinions, views, and passions are naturally going to shift over time. We fear change, right? We naturally resist change, even when it's necessary. There's a psychological concept called the identity trap, where we cling to an outdated version of ourselves because it feels safe and it feels familiar. So even if we want to evolve, our subconscious fights against it because it fears the unknown. It fears uncertainty. But change is the only constant in life. It's the only certainty. So instead of fearing change, you should plan for it. The smartest personal brands make space for growth and expect that their content, interests, and messaging will shift over time. If you outgrow your brand and don't adapt, you will lose passion, you will lose relevance, and eventually your audience will sense the disconnect. That's why intentional rebranding is so powerful. Instead of waiting until you feel pain and are forced to change, build reflection and reinvention into your personal brand strategy. Here's how to make sure you're always aligned with your brand. Schedule an annual brand review. Every year, when you're setting goals or doing vision boarding for the new year, take time to reflect on your brand as well. I want you to pause this video right now, open your phone or your digital calendar or paper diary or whatever you're using, and pencil in the 30th or the 31st of December. Lock this into your calendar now. Make it a non-negotiable. And then set a reminder on your phone. And when that day comes, take your time to reflect on your growth and how it has affected your brand. Screenshot this so you can reference it when your brand review comes around. Here are the questions you're going to ask yourself. What has changed in my life this year? Have my interests, priorities, or beliefs evolved? Do I still feel connected to my brand and the way I present myself online? Does my content or messaging reflect who I am right now? What no longer feels true to me? What new direction excites me? Does my brand still align with who I am and what I care about? Am I still excited about the content I create or the products and services I provide? If you feel disconnected from your brand, it's a sign that it's time to pivot. And this annual review ensures that your personal brand always feels authentic to who you are in the present, not just who you used to be. And remember, change is the only constant in life. The people who win are the ones who adapt. All right, we've covered a lot, but watching this video alone isn't going to change anything for you. Remember, knowledge alone isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. Knowledge without action is just another dopamine hit, another video you watch, nod along to, and then move on without actually doing anything. If you really want to build a powerful personal brand, you have to stop overthinking and start implementing. So here's what I want you to do. First, craft your alter ego. Step into the most confident, amplified version of yourself. Then define your principles with a personal mission statement and get really clear on what you stand for and what your principles are. Then practice voicing your opinions, start embracing the fact that not everyone will like you and that that's a good thing. And then set up a year-end brand review and lock in time to really reflect and evolve your brand before it starts feeling misaligned. So no more waiting, no more sitting on the sidelines. It's time to take action, step into who you truly are and build a personal brand that demands attention. We're in this together. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you more clarity on how to create a strong personal brand that is an extension of you and the direct reflection of your core principles. Drop a comment below and let me know what's one thing you stand for that you're not afraid to be polarizing about. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button really hard and really fast. There's many more videos like this to come, all decoding how language and communication shape brands and pop culture, influence society, and drive our behavior, and how you can use these insights to thrive in your business. So if you're into that type of content, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Until next time.